This is Capitol Report, live from our global headquarters in our nation's capital. Here's Steve Lance.
California Governor Gavin Newsom now proposing to end free health care for illegal immigrants. He wants the state to stop enrolling new people starting next year and start charging a monthly fee in 2027, saying that this would save $5.4 billion once all implemented. To discuss, we're now joined by Matt Klink, GOP strategist and owner of Klink Campaigns, as well as Alex Barrios, co-founder of Mi Vecino and former senior advisor for the Florida Democratic Party. Gentlemen, great to have you both on the program. Alex, let's start with you. Governor Newsom says that California has to scale back its budget due to tariffs. We know California also saw an exodus of people and businesses in recent months and years. How are you understanding this policy pivot?
Well, I would definitely love to speak to how the Latino community is understanding it. And we're seeing this as a tragedy. It appears to us that Trump has pulled our politics so far into the abyss that even Democratic governors are cutting off health care that Latinos need. Right now, it's illegal aliens, illegal immigrants, and we don't know who's next. We see this as Newsom showing fear and weakness. And we wonder, is this how Newsom thinks he can run for president in a couple of years? Is he trying to imitate Trump? It's not a good look to us.
Matt, is this a slippery slope or an issue of sustainability?
No, it's an issue of cold, hard cash on the table, and California doesn't have it. I mean, Gavin Newsom thought that he was going to be the progressive savior and offer full health care benefits to people who are in this country illegally, which acts as a magnet for illegal immigrants to come to California. Ironically enough, which the governor says California is now growing again. Yeah, U.S. citizens are leaving and undocumented immigrants are growing in California. But the program was actually $6.2 billion more expensive than he projected it to be. Of course, he had to ask the legislature for more money. But I mean, look, California is a state where the budget has been growing at 9% a year, or spending has been growing at 6% a year, and money coming in has been growing at 6% a year. So this is not a circumstance that is sustainable in the long term. And look, that he should never have done it. It's not appropriate. And, taxpayers are not happy with their money going to pay for health care for people in this country illegally.
Now, 3 Democratic lawmakers involved in that protest at the ICE facility in New Jersey are accused of potential felonies. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries said it would cross a red line if they were to be arrested. I'm going to play a clip and get your reaction.
What happens if they were to go and arrest these members, or if they would try to sanction them here in the House of Representatives?
They'll find out.
What would you do? I mean,
they'll find out.
What recourse? I mean, but doesn't that broach a...
They'll find out.
Doesn't that go across...
That's a red line. And so there are clear lines that they just dare not cross.
Alex, I guess the argument now is being tossed around that nobody is above the law and that elected officials should be held to the same standard as everyone else. I want you to comment on that, and also what might the red line be that the leader is talking about?
Yeah, I gotta tell you, I completely agree that nobody is above the law. And I'd like to see the law equally applied and enforced. I think that charging members of Congress for protesting ICE tells people that standing up for families can get you arrested at the same time while ICE agents can ignore court orders and be untouched. And we don't really call that justice. We call that intimidation. As far as Leader Jeffries and what he means by the red line and what they think they'll do, I can't speak to that, what that would be. The Democrats, unfortunately, do have a reputation for talking a lot, and what they intend to actually do, I hope one day they do something.
Matt, Representative Buddy Carter of Georgia, he's trying to strip these 3 Congress folks, his colleagues on the Democratic side, of their committee assignments. Is this reasonable, or should the investigation be allowed to play out first?
Well, I mean, look, everyone should be allowed to protest. I agree. That's a fundamental right of Americans. But it doesn't matter if you're a member of Congress or not. You cannot assault police officers. And that's what happened there. Look at the video that has been shown. So, the House will determine what the appropriate punishment is. And the House is a strictly majoritarian body. The Republicans have the vote to pretty much do anything that they want, just as the Democrats did when they ran the House. So, Speaker Jeffries' threats of don't sound like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris when talking about Iran and foreign policy actions. He's a toothless tiger here. The Republicans will figure it out what they want to do. It's not a good look for the 3 Democratic members of Congress who did that at an ICE detention center. I find it interesting. The Democrats are more interested in fighting for people who are illegally in this country than they are for United States citizens. And I would keep doing it. It will make for a great election in 2026 for the Republican Party.
Now, switching gears here just a little bit, HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. today testifying on the Hill about the health department's budget. When asked about how he can compete with our geopolitical adversaries, this was his response.
The Chinese are not spending a lot of money on DEI, and we are cutting those studies. We're cutting studies on gain of function studies, and we're cutting grants to foreign scientists from adversarial countries, and particularly the Chinese.
So, Matt, are these cuts necessary to stay competitive, and how has spending on DEI affected health services, if at all?
Well, what we've seen consistently across the board, Steve, is that DEI under the Biden-Harris administration infected virtually every part of the federal government, and it was largely money wasted. I think the more relevant thing about what Secretary Kennedy spoke about today was look, they're going to save money simply by removing 1 million people claiming Medicaid illegally, 1 million people claiming Obamacare illegally, 1 million illegal immigrants using Medicaid, forcing able-bodied men to go back to work. And I think the other thing that was interesting today is Rosa DeLauro, Congresswoman from Connecticut. She went after him on cuts, and he said he's been able to do more in 100 days in terms of removing food dyes from kids than the last 20 years. So the secretary is making progress, but cutting anything in Washington, D.C. is difficult because every program has a constituency, and none is more touchy than healthcare. But some reforms need to be made if we're going to get this $36 trillion debt under, at least start it going in the right direction and shrinking it.
Now, Alex, to Matt's previous point, RFK Jr., Kennedy name, it's, royalty in Democratic circles, that name. And he was a Democrat himself. A lot of the policies that he has been championing are ones that many Democrats, at least at one point, were behind and wanted to see come to fruition. How are Democrats viewing RFK Jr.'s tenure thus far?
Well, I can't speak on behalf of the entire Democratic Party. I can definitely speak on behalf of the Latino community, how we're seeing it, and the people that we're talking to really just see RFK as a bit of a distraction. Times do change, and one of the things the Democratic Party has failed to do is keep their finger on the pulse of America. They're a bit out of touch with what people want. Unfortunately, we see RFK as just being a sideshow and a distraction from the disaster that is Trump's economic policy. What looks to be excessive overspending on an aggressive immigration attacks that they did not budget for adequately, our economy being bankrupted, Main Street being bankrupted, and they're trying to find ways to pay for that. And I think it's very interesting that there's a very consistent line for where they're trying to take money from. A lot of it seems to be coming from programs for Americans, for taxpayers, and for people that have been in this country to live lives that they're no longer getting to enjoy.
We do have some more sound here from Senator Bernie Sanders about Trump's new executive order to lower prescription drug prices. Watch.
On legislation that I will soon be introducing, which accomplishes exactly the same goal as you and the president talked about, making sure that we pay no more for prescription drugs than people in other major countries. So if we are serious about that, let's work together and let's make that happen.
Matt, what is your reaction? Do you expect more Democrats to throw their support behind this?
Look, fighting the pharmaceutical industry is a tough battle. Both sides have taken money from the industry. They have one of the most effective lobbying programs in the United States. And there's a reason why pharma very, very rarely loses. I think that the fight that Donald Trump has chosen to pick is one that a number of Democrats have been pushing through the years. But as they say with legislation, the devil is in the details. And look, if Bernie Sanders wants to join on to a Republican bill, I think that would send a huge message to a lot of progressive Democrats that it's the right path forward. But the fact that Donald Trump has said he wants to do this via executive order, it is going to take 60 votes to get anything like this through Congress and ultimately get through the House of Representatives. And I think it's going to be a tough slog to get both Republican and Democratic votes on this.
Now, Alex, it's no secret that special interest lobbying, especially big pharma, is a bipartisan effort. No stone left unturned up on Capitol Hill when it comes to this. Do you see big pharma jumping in and swaying any members of Congress on this issue?
I think that'll definitely happen. I do agree that this is a touchy subject. It's a difficult issue because there's a lot of money in our politics, and pharma does contribute evenly. I don't know if it's evenly, but they contribute heavily to both parties. I had previously spoken with the White House regarding former President Biden's attempts to improve healthcare, and at Me Vecino as an organization, we've had almost 1 million face-to-face conversations with people, and we see how these types of policies play out in actual Americans' lives, right? And Latinos feel like this policy is not for them, even if it passes. Even if we can create equality of prices and make them available, the healthcare system isn't reflective of America because we can't access it. Previously, the Biden administration didn't do the diligence to create the infrastructure to ensure people that were language challenged, if English wasn't their first and primary language, to re-enroll, to access the improvements they were trying to create. And it leaves Americans feeling like, if I can't access this, then it's not for me. Who's it for?
Matt Klink, Alex Barrios, really appreciate both of your perspectives.
Thank you.
Thank you.